I was in 11:20, so I was rehearsing in my head. Hey, everybody. I wanted to talk a little bit today about innovation in big data and how you can use that, apply automation and artificial intelligence to help drive those results. Before I do that, Jeremy Patrick, I'm with Nationwide Mutual Insurance. I'm a solutions advisor, advanced analytics solutions advisor. So how many people have been asked, make something work or show me better results, save me money, but figure it out on your own? Pretty much everybody in here at some degree. Well, that's kind of what my job is, right? It's to look into our personal lines portfolio within the insurance industry and determine what we can do to try to save ourselves a little bit of money, process improvement through artificial intelligence, making sure that we're taking a look at all of our different opportunities that we have. So I'm a recovering data engineer, so that's kind of my background, data engineering. So when I got into this role where I'm kind of helping lead and develop these projects and standing up teams around that, I really tried to pull a lot on that previous data engineering experience that I've had. I feel like sometimes when you get into the business or even sometimes in data science, we're not always looking at it from a very pragmatic perspective of what does it take to get that data in front of you, make sure that it looks right, and how can we manipulate it and do what we need to do. And by the way, we don't always get the data we think we're getting. Sometimes it's something completely different, and what it looks like to the end consumer, it starts someplace totally different. So my journey really started with this conversation around probably about 3 years ago. I was in a hackathon that Nationwide had put on, and we were looking at different use cases from the business, mainly around like claims, that sort of thing. How can we take a real business problem? In this case, it was, the one that my group had chosen was how do we look at people who call into the call center, what are they calling for, and how can we try to help categorize and prevent those in the future? A little pre-AI at this point, but what that really helped to do with my small team was that we developed a methodology of using some AWS tool sets, some on-the-fly Python packages, boilerplate stuff, and we really started to categorize a group of claims calls. Well, we did really well with that hackathon, got some great results. We didn't go as far as we wanted, so I stood up a small team and we started to investigate that further using things like AWS Comprehend, Transcribe, some different services like that, and then moved ultimately to SageMaker to see how we could get some more in-depth analytics around those types of things. So that was really successful, and we actually ended up applying that to some of our Nationwide Financial partners as well. But kind of fast forward to my current role, taking that look at how we worked with those claims calls, how that worked and that opportunity that presented, really got us thinking about today the problems that we're facing. With AI, that just opens up the door to so many more opportunities. Generative AI, when we think about some challenges that we have with our contact centers, one of the biggest things is folks that have notes that they need to take or, follow-ups on a claim or even just policy changes. It can be applied to any industry, quite frankly. You have associates who have inaccurate or just totally disparate ways of taking notes. So doing analytics on the long term is a very difficult task when it comes to doing that sort of thing. So making sure that we have a consistent way of doing that. So applying AI in that format is really going to help drive our value in terms of being able to move forward with that. Another big one that we faced is document intake. Any company that gets forms from the outside, using those forms and being able to parse them, OCR, all that stuff, you might get the text out of it, but it's totally random how it's going to look. So a lot of the ways that we've been really trying to innovate and the ways that I personally have been trying to drive my teams to do a little better with this is, what is everybody else doing, right? So it's like, how are there successes in the industry that we're looking at and trends that we're starting to notice that we can see where were those successes had, especially, you come to a conference like this, you're networking, talking with folks, or even inside your own company, that really kind of helps drive some of those ideas that can help you be more successful. So going all the way back to the beginning where I talked about how can we innovate through AI and through automation, sometimes it's not just as much as, here's problem A, we're going to solve it using this SageMaker output, or we're going to run Comprehend over a set of text and some set of phone calls or a set of documents. Sometimes it's just looking outside the box, innovating with what's already been innovated. You don't always need to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes it's taking on previous experience from another role and applying it to where you're going to be going. So I always encourage folks, especially anybody who's here, just make sure you always are keeping an open mind. It may not be your industry, it may not be your exact problem, but you may have already faced it in the past, or somebody's already tackled it for you. So just always keep an open mind, and innovation will come. Thanks.
I want to say this, you have reversed really well. It's 4 minutes, 56 seconds. Like, do we have Tanya?
Hello, my name is Tanya Zapkina, and I blame the stock on having too much coffee this morning. So I spent most of my career in marketing analytics and have learned a few things, and so my talk is about analytics, and the topic is we are thinking about prescriptive analytics all wrong. So let's talk about the types of analytics that are usually being described in the books. So there's descriptive, there's predictive, and then there's prescriptive. There's also diagnostic, but like I'm gonna lump it all together. And as we think about it, it's the thinking and sophistication of methods that is growing with this analytics types. So we're starting with descriptive, which are very slice and dice kind of analytics. We're looking at the different cuts of data and trying to determine what's going on. And then we're doing modeling in the prescriptive world, where we're in the predictive world, where we're trying to predict what the future holds. And then we're moving on to prescriptive, where we can determine what's going to happen if we do X or Y. So it's the difference of the outcome that we're interested in, of our action determining that outcome. And so prescriptive analytics is all about causality, how our action makes it different, makes the outcome of the world different for us. So the word prescriptive comes from prescription, and that comes from pharma world, where we are looking at the impact of prescription. How do we determine the efficacy of that medication? We're running clinical trials. So causality, to determine that, we need to run trials as opposed to using advanced analytics. And that's what you usually find. If you Google prescriptive analytics, you'll say, oh, you'll have to use AI. No, run an experiment. And chances are you're already doing some prescriptive analytics in your own organizations, but by just running the tests.